Good evening, everyone. Today's seminar topic is intestinal duplications. The term alimentary tract duplications was the entity was first reported by Calder in 1733, and then the terminology was first adapted by Willem E. Ladd in 1937. He described that he gave a definition of these congenital lesions with three criteria. First one being the presence of a well-developed coat of smooth muscle, an epithelial lining representing some type of intestinal mucosa, and an intimate anatomic association with some portion of the GIT. These were the three main descriptive criteria for alimentary tract duplications. So, with a broad overview, incidence is reported to be about 1 in 4,500 live births, and it can occur anywhere from the oropharynx to the anus. Foregut accounts to 37%, midgut has more than half, about 53%, the commonest being ileum, which is 33%, and hindgut being the least, being 8%. So 20% of them are within the chest. The most common site is ileum, and there is a slight male preponderance. 10 to 20% of these duplications are known to be multiple. They may be in the thorax with a separate second one being found in the abdomen. Higher incidence of other anomalies are seen, especially in multiple duplications. These anomalies include spinal malformations, intestinal malrotation and atresias, and urinary tract anomalies. The embryology of alimentary tract duplications. There are four main theories quoted to explain the pathogenesis or occurrence of duplications or duplication cysts. The first one being partial or aborted twinning, second being split notochord theory and anomalous adhesion, diverticular and canalization defects, and environmental factors. Partial or abortive twinning. These are associated with doubling anomalies of the head and mouth, gastrointestinal tract, and lower genitourinary tract. All of them are reported. And timing of twinning depends. With the timing of twinning, anomalies, extent of different anomalies occur. A later twinning leads to a more caudal twinning, like a colonic duplication occurs with late occurrence of twinning. And aborted twinning. The split notochord theory and anomalous adhesion. This was proposed in 1960 by Bentley and Smith, mainly to account for what we know as neuroenteric or those occurring with association with spinal anomalies. By third week of gestation, when there is separation of the notochord from the endodermal cells, where it is closely adherent, a herniation in the gap, herniation of a diverticulum from the foregut, that is the endoderm, can occur, and associated with incomplete detachment can form duplication cysts. And this will also have an attachment to the ectoderm, and it may remain attached to the notochord also. So they will have both an anterior spina bifida and neuroenteric cyst. There are various forms of neuroenteric cysts that are described, which are shown here. They may present with a dorsal enteric fistula or intraspinal enteric cysts may be seen. This is another showing tubular communication of the duplication cyst to the there will be an intraspinous extension. Diverticular and canalization defects. According to this theory, the fetal gastrointestinal tract will be early in a solid state, followed by a progressive growth of luminal site, which occurs in the craniocaudal direction. And the diverticular theory is that during this process, outpouching may occur. But the drawbacks of this theory include it fails to explain presence of heterotopic mucosa and occurrence of duplication cysts within the mesentery, as most diverticula are present on the antimesenteric side. And even with errors of recanalization of the solicate of GIT, this was proposed by Bremer. In this also, incomplete or defective vacuolization of the intestine is proposed to be the cause. And they're not well accepted. Environmental factors, Mellish and Koop they have studied effect of environmental factors on occurrence of duplication. They theorize that trauma and hypoxia, which occur during attempts of twinning, lead to duplication. These may be associated with other anomalies caused by intrauterine vascular accidents when we see association with intestinal atresia, for example. Broadly, the embryological basis is accepted is abortive twinning for all foregut, midgut, and hindgut duplications. Particularly in foregut duplications which occur in the thorax, split notochord theory is the most accepted theory. Broad clinical we'll discuss clinical manifestations broadly with respect to all duplication cysts. They may be cystic or tubular in presentation. As shown here, this is a cyst and this will be a tubular and duplication which is shown on ultrasound. And the presentation, there is wide variation in the presentation depending on the size, depending on where it is located, adjacent normal bubble, and presence of heterotopic mucosa. Almost 70% of them present with symptoms within the first year of life and 85% in the second year. So the most common age of diagnosis will be within first 2 years of life. They may be asymptomatic or very few non-specific symptoms, and many of them are detected incidentally on imaging. But this again varies with the site of the cyst. Also, lately, increasingly, they're being detected on prenatal ultrasound as cystic masses if they are sufficiently large to be detected. But definitive diagnosis will not be possible till postnatal. Imaging for diagnosis, ultrasound is the main the first modality used. On ultrasound, duplications appear as anechoic cysts as shown here, with thick wall 2 to 3 mm, which shows both smooth muscle and mucosa. The mucosal lining is seen as an echogenic signal within the cyst, that is inside of the cyst, and a double wall or muscular rim sign, also known as the gut signature sign, is seen. This is shown in this picture. It may be seen here also, the gut signature sign. Another described reliable sign is the Y sonographic configuration, where you can see the muscle layer in a Y configuration, which is being split between the shared muscularis propria between the cyst and the adjacent normal bubble loop, which is shown here. Other adjunct imaging modalities used for diagnosis are GI contrast studies. In this, an impression from the mass is seen on the intestine, and CT is on CT they appear as cystic masses with enhancing rim. Differential diagnosis will be an abscess. This will have to correlate clinically whether the patient has leukocytosis and fever, which will be seen in abscess. In suspected Meckel's, we do a technetium pertechnate scan when the patient presents with anemia and abdominal pain. We'll now discuss based on specific sites of the duplications. Cervical esophageal duplications. These are rare and they present early because of presence of respiratory distress. So intubation, rapid diagnosis and intervention is required in such cases. The standard diagnosis usually with CT. Differential diagnosis includes lymphatic malformations, airway-related cysts, and thyroglossal cysts. The treatment will be complete excision, usually by supraclavicular or cervical approach. The cyst is mobilized by dissecting close to the esophagus. A part of the muscular wall of esophagus may have to be removed. This is usually in close proximity with the vagus, phrenic nerve, and maybe the thoracic duct. And care has to be taken to carefully dissect the cyst. The residual muscular defect, which is on the esophageal wall, is repaired, and the leak test is performed to ensure that there is no leak. If a complete excision is not able to be performed, either because the cyst is infected and densely adherent or a huge cyst, mucosectomy has to be done and obliteration of the cyst is attempted. In this case report, we can see in a newborn infant girl, there is esophageal duplication, cervical duplication cyst, clinically visible as a lump. Seen on bronchoscopy, they've seen indenting into the airway. This is an ultrasound image, and the same is demonstrated on CT. This is an intraoperative image where the sharing of a layer of muscle from the cyst with the esophagus, lateral wall of esophagus was noted. Complete excision was done. Thoracic and thoracoabdominal duplications. These account for 20 to 30% of the duplications. Neurogenic tumors are the commonest differential diagnosis for these, as they most commonly occur in the lower half of the posterior mediastinum. They may be either What happened?
Meeting. I'm not.
So, sorry. To continue, thoracic and thoracoabdominal duplications. Most common of or thoracic abdominal duplications are neuroenteric cysts, which are associated with vertebral anomalies. They usually present with wheezing, symptoms like wheezing, pneumonia, dysphagia, vomiting, hematemesis, or melena. Hematemesis and melena, especially when they have a distal gastric communication or ectopic gastric mucosa. Respiratory distress is the most common presenting complaint. Chest pain is rare. It occurs if there is hemorrhage or infection, and they may be asymptomatic and detected incidentally while doing a chest X-ray. So this is a thoracic duplication, and this is a thoracoabdominal where has an abdominal component and communicating with the stomach. Known associations with these are spinal anomalies, tracheoesophageal fistula with atresia, congenital diaphragmatic hernia. With these multiple duplications will have to be suspected. 1/4 of them have a second duplication in the abdomen, and 1/3 of all neuroenteric cysts are multiple. Workup includes an initial barium swallow. This gives an idea to the relationship of the duplication to the esophagus. In this, we can see upper GI contrast showing a filling defect in the distal esophagus. So it's suggestive of a distal esophageal duplication cyst. CT chest with abdomen is the investigation of choice. It gives the accurate location of the cyst and its relationship to the adjacent bowel and blood supply. 2D echo is done if a pericardial cyst is suspected because of the location, and MRI spine is done in all suspected neuroenteric cysts to evaluate the spine. The treatment of choice in thoracic and thoracoabdominal duplications is also excision. In thoracic, thoracoscopic is preferred. Thoracotomy is the alternative approach. And in these decompression during thoracoscopic removal will aid in removal of this cyst entirely. When it is mostly within the wall of the esophagus, an extramucosal excision of the cyst is done and the muscular wall is repaired, following which a leak test is done. In neuroenteric cysts, neurosurgeon intervention will be required. The intraspinous portion of the duplication has to be removed first. In large thoracoabdominal cysts, staged excision is planned. Uh, a thoracic approach and an abdominal approach can be done at the same sitting or staged. Initially, the thoracic component is addressed and the remnant duplication may be drained internally into a bowel, because if left alone with ectopic mucosa, there may be bleeding and other complications. And distal communication has to be seen. Many of them have communication either to the stomach, duodenum, or proximal jejunum. And if complete excision is not possible, mucosectomy has to be done. Abdominal foregut duplications, these include gastric and duodenal. They usually present as large cystic lesions. Gastric duplication occurs usually along the greater curvature. They present with typically with failure to thrive, vomiting. There are also reported instances of gastroesophageal reflux as the presenting symptom. Gastric outlet obstruction may present with abdominal pain and ulcer-like symptoms. Dyspepsia. On examination, there is usually a palpable mass within the epigastrium and they may present with perforation, spontaneous hemoperitoneum. These may be the presenting features. On ultrasound, large cystic mass is seen within the upper abdomen. And upper GI contrast series, we can delineate the extent of the lesion, its relationship to the stomach and duodenum and pancreas. Treatment of gastric duplications. Resection without violating the stomach lumen is ideal, and repair of the residual seromuscular defect. However, in some cases, segmental gastric resection may be required, and wedge resection, as shown here, may be required to adequately remove the duplication. Partial cyst resection, if done, has to be added with the mucosal stripping of the residual cyst wall. And alternative is laparoscopically staple excision can be done as shown in this picture, similar to a partial gastrectomy. So this is preferred for smaller gastric duplications. An additional feeding gastrostomy or jejunostomy may be required when oral feeds cannot be initiated to the child. post-operatively. Duodenal duplications. Duodenal duplications most commonly occur on the medial and posterior part of second and third part of duodenum, as shown in this diagram. They may contain duodenal or small intestinal mucosa or even heterotopic gastric mucosa. They may communicate with the duodenal lumen. Most of them, 80 to 90% of them, present with vomiting and vague abdominal pain. They may be early satiety, failure to thrive, and recurrent pancreatitis because of its close proximity to the ampulla. Upper GI contrast series and ultrasound is done, as in other duplications. A mass compressing the duodenum will be seen. This is an example where ultrasound of the duodenal duplication is shown, and an MR imaging with contrast, which demonstrates cystic duplication of the duodenum. So CT abdomen or MRCP is done, and ERCP also may be done to determine relationship of the cystic mass with pancreas, biliary tree, and duct. The treatment in these endoscopic or percutaneous drainage is not preferred. This will not help. Excision and division of ductal communication, if present, has to be done, or resectional procedures may have to be done. This is an example in which this was in an adult patient. Endoscopy has revealed two different lumens of the duplication, and after excision, an end-to-side duodenojejunectomy has been done. Sometimes even Whipple's pancreaticoduodenectomy may have to be done if there is an extensive lesion. In case complete resection is not possible, internal drainage is done. Marsupialization of the cyst to the duodenum or to a Roux-en-Y loop of intestine is done, especially in cysts near the head of pancreas. In all these cases, an intraoperative cholangiogram is preferred to ensure that the biliary tree is intact and unobstructed. This may be done even post-resection, post-procedure, to confirm. So in case of simple duodenal cyst where excision is attempted, the approach is usually through right upper quadrant incision. Duodenum is cauterized and an oblique incision is taken on the lateral part of duodenum to expose the medial wall, and the medially situated duplication cyst is exposed. A needle aspiration may be done to look for presence of bile, which will indicate a biliary communication or communication with the lumen. Deroofing of the cyst is done after identification of the ampulla of water, and excision of most of the cyst except the residual medial disc of mucosa is left, which is centered on the ampulla of water. This is to preserve the ampulla, and then the residual mucosa is oversewn. Duplications of the small intestine. These are the most common enteric duplications, most commonly presenting in the ileum. They may be cystic or tubular, then they occur on the mesenteric side, unlike diverticular, which occur on the antimesenteric side. They share muscular wall and blood supply with adjacent intestine, usually, and they have variable communication with the lumen. Lee et al. Have given a classification based on blood supply. There are two broad categories of small intestine duplication. One is the parallel type 1 lesions, where duplication is to one side of the mesentery with an artery supplying the duplication and opposite the artery which is supplying the native bowel. Type 2 is intramesenteric type, as shown here. In this, vessels are on both sides of the duplication and then they go to the native bowel. And more than 90% of these type 2 lesions are associated with spinal anomalies. They may present with abdominal pain, and in the ileal duplication, the differential diagnosis will be acute appendicitis, as they present with right lower quadrant pain. Intussusception they may present with intussusception with when there are small cystic duplications which present with a lead point. They may present with obstructive symptoms when they are tubular duplication with a proximal collection. With a proximal communication. The proximal communication will lead to progressive distension of the tubular duplication, which compresses on the native bowel, causing obstructive symptoms. And in presence of ectopic gastric mucosa, there may be bleeding, melena, or perforation. Treatment in case of simple cystic lesions, excision of the duplication with adjacent bowel and primary reanastomosis is preferred. This may be done by open or laparoscopic approach. Laparoscopy allows for decompression and smaller incision for open resection as a hybrid technique. If resection is not possible, it can be drained into a Roux-en-Y loop. When there are long tubular duplications, it presents as a challenge. This is one example shown where there is air gas shadow is seen on the right side, entire right side of the abdomen, and contrast is filling only to the left side. This represents the duplication, and this is the operative specimen where the duplication has been excised. So in such cases, the ectopic mucosa is usually removed by stripping or limited resection. We may give stepladder incisions at different levels when it is very long to strip the mucosa. The mesentery is opened and assessed for possibility of excision of the entire duplication. Bianchi technique used for longitudinal intestinal lengthening. That technique is used for mesenteric dissection in such cases, and large windows are created between the duplication and adjacent intestine proximally and distally for good drainage of the duplication. This is similar to marsupialization. But since the mucosa is retained and when the gastric duplication is retained, small bowel duplication is retained, they require follow-up for the retained gastric mucosa. Hindgut duplications. These involve colon and rectum duplications, which account to 17% of all duplications. Simple cysts occurring in the wall or mesentery, or extensive, uh, including entire length of the colon with a separate opening. These are the two main presentations. They may be associated with aborted twinning anomalies and spinal anomalies. In colonic duplication, colonic mucosa is present and rarely ectopic mucosa may be present. Rectal duplications usually occur as cystic masses of variable size in the presacral space. There are three general classes of hindgut duplications. This is simplified from the earlier um, classification proposed by John Cotera. Type 1, 2, A, B, and C, as shown in the figure. However, the simplified one is cystic short tubular masses as type 1, which occur within the mesentery. This is rare. And type 2 is midline in front of the coccyx or sacrum behind the rectum, that is in the presacral space, intimately involving blood supply of the rectum. And side-to-side duplications, which vary in length and location, more commonly in females, associated with other lower abdominal and caudal abnormalities. The clinical features are abdominal pain with distension. A second opening in the perineum may be seen in lower duplications. Urinary obstruction and retention. Severe constipation. Duplications that open into vagina may present like a rectovaginal fistula, where the child is presents with passing gas or stools through the vagina. Rectal bleeding, rectal prolapse. And presacral duplications present similar to a sacrococcygeal mass, sacrococcygeal teratoma or dermoid. Diagnosis: barium enema gives a clue to the diagnosis. In this contrast enema, you can see a common wall and long segment duplication. MR enterography may be used for diagnosis, or CT. CT and MRI will give a good idea to the extent of the lesion, relationship to the rectum, spine, and urinary tract. And quite often we operate for the other presentations like rectal prolapse, or when child presents with acute abdomen distension and peritonism with perforation, intra-op diagnosis is made. The treatment: surgical resection. Limited resection can be done in localized lesions. Such simple cystic lesions can be shelled out from the mesentery, especially in short cystic duplications. In long tubular duplications, a creative surgical approach has to be done because resection will mean subtotal or total colectomy, which cannot be done. So, long side-to-side duplication, one option is fenestration of the lumen extensively, proximally and distally using staplers. Excuse me. And perineal opening, the distal portion of the duplication is resected and the mucosa is removed with or without a sphincter reconstruction. This is a case report of a total colonic duplication with a proximal communication, and this is how they've partially excised towards the antimesenteric wall. It has been excised, and an incision is made here, similar to The proximally, this is how the incision is made, and it is inverted, like the intestine is closed, and distally, mucosectomy has been done, and the seromuscular layers are oversewn. Presacral duplication is often presents as an infected mass. In such cases, it has to be externally drained, and midline presacral duplications are otherwise are approached by a posterior sagittal approach with limited rectal wall dissection. A nerve stimulator may be used to define the muscular anatomy for dissection, and a preoperative bowel preparation is done. A midline rectal duplication, when it presents anteriorly, there is high risk of injury to bladder, neck, and sphincter, and it is usually approached from above, and mucosa is stripped and the muscular wall is left in place. In such cases, a diverting backup colostomy may be required. Long-term monitoring in all intestinal duplications. The concerns are pancreatitis, especially in duodenal or gastric duplication, because of the proximity to pancreatobiliary tree. This may occur even after surgical management of the duplication. Recurrent bleeding may occur after mucosal stripping, where complete excision is not possible. Those undergoing Those who have been treated for colonic cystic duplication require regular evaluation if any mucosa has been left behind. And severe duplications of the external genitalia with colonic duplications will pose a cosmetic problem, and counseling will be required and complex reconstructive procedure. And continence studies are advisable for those who have been treated for rectal duplications. This is a recently operated 8-month-old in our hospital. 8-month-old child with antenatally detected cystic lesion in the abdomen, which was differential diagnosis of mesenteric cyst was considered initially. This lump was clinically palpable in the left lower abdomen, mobile freely in both directions. Intraoperatively, it was closely related to the small bowel mesentery, proximal jejunum, with extending onto the sigmoid mesentery. This lesion could be easily shelled out. Histopathological report is awaited. This ends the discussion presentation on this topic. Thank you. Sir, any questions, sir? Any comments?
It was a nice presentation. I don't have anything to add. So the meeting is open for discussion.
That was a nice presentation, Vidya.
Thank you,
Very well
sir.
summarized. Very
Thank
well
you, sir.
summarized. And I think the embryological theory, which probably fits into most clinical entities, is the split notochord syndrome. So a
Yes,
little
sir.
more detail of that has to be known when you want
Yes,
to
sir.
answer in the exam.
Yes, sir.
What are the nuances of that? I think one other person, embryologist by name Sanders, was involved in the formulation of that theory.
Yes, sir.
So you need to know about that. So that is important.
Yes.
Then you need to know about the various surgical maneuvers you need to do for various segments at which you have mentioned it all very nicely.
Yes, sir.
Especially when you have what is called an ileum duplex. Ileum duplex is where there's an extensive tubular duplication of the ileum, extending
Yes, sir.
all the way to the jejunal-ileal junction and down into the terminal ileum. Very often, these patients will have a long segment of ectopic gastric mucosa, almost involving the entire length of the tubular duplication. And they will have a small communication into the intestine, and they will present with massive bleeding per rectum or hematochezia, leading
Yes,
to
sir.
almost shock and loss of their hemoglobin level to almost 5 and 4 and all that.
Yes.
A small percentage of these tubular duplications can also freely perforate into the peritoneal cavity when they will present with severe septicemic shock, sort of a very vague septicemic shock. So that has to be kept in
Yes.
mind.
Yes, sir.
And the technique which you have described is the correct technique, where you have to make multiple incisions in the mesenteric window between vessels
Yes, sir.
and get into the plane between the seromuscularis and the mucosal tube. And the mucosal tube can be dissected nicely. I have done a few cases of this.
Yes, sir.
I was sort of fortunate in encountering these cases. So you can get the entire mucosal tube out very nicely. You can dissect it and take it out. And ultimately, you will have to resect a very small portion of the ileum where the communication is there.
Yes, sir.
So in them, when you do the histopathology, you will find that there is ectopic gastric mucosa. And pre-operatively, if you have time to work these kids up, when you do the Meckel scan in them, the scan
Yes,
to
sir.
look for ectopic gastric mucosa, you will
Yes, sir.
see an extensive lit up scan showing that there
Yes,
is
sir.
a lot of ectopic gastric mucosa in this child's abdomen.
Yes,
So
sir.
that is a very, very characteristic sign. You will never forget once you have seen this.
Yes, yes.
So this technique was first described by a surgeon called as Ren. So
Ren's,
that you
yes,
have to
sir.
keep in
Ren's
mind.
mucosectomy.
WREN. It is
Yes, sir.
Ren's technique. So
Yes,
that
sir.
technique was a very innovative technique, which sort of saved the bowel length in all these babies. So very important to remember that.
Yes, sir.
And I have encountered colonic duplication also, where there was the double appendix. I think there was double appendix and
Mm.
a small segment of ileum which was duplicated, and these two ileum were ending into two segments of colon. So we had to do a
Yes.
long end to side side anastomosis between the two lumen of the colon. And
Okay. Yes.
ultimately, at the rectal level, we had to do a stapled anastomosis, low down, like a
Yes, sir.
low anterior resection, like that.
Yes, yes.